Okay. To some people's belief, they were trying to figure out why uh, the best friends sounds kind of different. The best song remix that I'm talking about is with The Weeknd and Summer Walker, which I think, they do share similarities. However, the one that The Weeknd is talking about in this song is the original. Um, is the original from his Dawn album, his recent Dawn FM album, which is, I think, a very understandable thing since The Weeknd's Dawn album and After Hours did very well. However, I think this time we're going to talk about The Weeknd and Summer Walker's remix that they did together recently, that they recently dropped, called the best friends, but it's officially the remix. I believe it was produced by The Weeknd, of course, Oscar Holt. There's a lot of people in the production of this. I believe there's a lot of credits with this song, just because how this song sounds from the original. It sounds very different. So there are a few points I just want to knock off the park while we're talking about The Weeknd. I think The Weeknd is considered maybe a Canadian R&B legend. Recently, a couple years, I know now that's that's always gonna be debatable. But The Weeknd says, "We got it, baby, we got it." It's secure, which I think what she's saying is we're secure in our relationship or whatever we in. Because in his next line, I believe he goes, "Has been part of a toxic love," which love in itself. There are a lot of people that believe that when you talk about love in itself, you kind of become a toxic person, and that's not entirely true. I think we've seen it done differently, where you can be in love and not be toxic. Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, and who was it? A lot of people. But toxic love is a thing that some people do strive to have. So, toxic love is a weird thing to say. But he says, but when we're together, we're secure, either in our friendship. And the reason I say friendship is because it says best friends, but further down in here, we kind of get into this kind of friends without benefits, or like a situationship, with kind of Summer Walker's verses, but also The Weeknd's verses that they also share. These artists are very well put together. Tone-wise, I think it's very hard for me to go tone-wise that these artists are not maybe vocally some of the best, that aren't, like, of course, modified in a certain way. He says we're best friends now. Things you want, I'm not looking for. Meaning, yeah, we not that explanatory kind of a situationship, or an entanglement, if we've recently called it in the past couple of years. The Weeknd says, "I thought we had an arrangement. Focus on the friendship. I thought we had an arrangement. Get a little sidetracked and somebody called feelings." And I think as I go with this situationship or friends with benefits, where it's only about the encounters, we're not supposed to feel anything besides it or think anything without it, and we kind of do, roughly. But The Weeknd's verse is kind of throughout Dawn FM. The original song for this is called Best Friends, but it's on Dawn FM. Now, Dawn FM is debated by a few if it's good or not. But we get this Summer Walker pre-chorus into Best Friends for her vocals, for hers and The Weeknd's vocals, where they kind of share a lot of this, where they said, kept trying to turn back time, keep it as a friendship. There are a lot of people, me included, I think there are some relationships where you think they were better off as friendships, and then when you cross that line of being in a relationship or being friends with benefits, it's very hard to just be friends. Because they say we tried that, almost like we tried that, it clearly didn't work, so we can't go back to it, which I think is a weird but a cliche way of kind of handling the music. I think that's people say they think it's unique, but I don't necessarily believe that's a unique experience. When are you gonna face it? We're on other sides. We clearly don't have the same vision. When are you going to realize that is kind of what I'm getting from this? I don't want to fake it. I don't want to fake it. Where I just feel like if it wasn't for the heat in the moment, I don't kind of see you like that. Like, I think that's the stuff that he's implying to. And Summer Walker saying, friend sex no more. Having sex as friends no more is which I just kind of want to be more. Is kind of what I'm getting. Friends no more, friends no more. I don't want to have as friends no more, which implies that Summer Walker, well, from Summer Walker's perspective, they want a relationship, but the other person just is not. They're stuck in a situation where they want to be just friends with benefits or in a situationship, and the other person just wants to be in love, which people will say is kind of ironic because they're like, well, that doesn't happen a lot, and it's kind of like a cliche played out in Hollywood. But there are a lot of things. There are a lot of situationships that end up being like this, right? Like, it's definitely one-sided sometimes. It's because he says that we're best friends now, and they vocally are amazing with that. But they don't want to deal with the toxic, what somebody would see as the toxic part of love, of being in love, and they don't want that. But he also says, I don't want to be responsible for your heart if we fall, which is I think is a weird understanding of it, but it is true. There are a lot of relationships that end up failing, especially because they grow as friends, then they become best friends, then they end up in a relationship where they're friends and go straight to relationships where that person might not be able to handle the consequences if they break up. This could lead to many different outcomes, being dangerously in love, worrying for somebody's safety, and then when you break up, you feel like it's all you don't want to end up. You don't end up. I don't want to break up with that person because you feel like if you do it, and it's very hard to deal with for some people, and that's really. I mean, I think there are a few people that are like, that doesn't bother me. That would never happen to me, right? But I think the older you get with age, you're like, yeah, well, clearly it's happening, right? Like, I've been through it one time where I didn't want to break somebody's heart, right? And he says, because I'll get chummy, tear it apart, which just saying I'd be emotional about is what I think he's trying to say with that one line. He says, but I love you so much, but we can't get close as in we're best friends now and we're great. We're great, but we might not be well in a relationship where they got flaws in a relationship that they recognize and they don't want to ruin that connection because of that relationships or somebody that, because I do know some people that are bad with relationships, that fear relationships, so they try to keep somebody that they're very close with and they quote them as like best friends because they don't really trust the relationship stage of a relationship, right? So overall, I do like the message. The Weeknd's part is it's not terrible, but I've heard this on the Don FM, and I have talked about this song on Don FM. The Summer Walker part is very new. I think I haven't heard Summer Walker on Best Friends, but I think the title Best Friends has been used so much that I think I had to specify where this best friend was coming from. It's coming from the Weeknd's Don FM. And I don't know. I don't really hate it. Not great. It's not terrible, but I've heard this before. This remix, I kind of expect it better, but it has a message behind it depending on how you look at this song. So overall, I gotta go a 5 out of 10. I have to. So we'll see. And definitely we'll see you in the next episode. Hope this, as I said, songs can always grow on you. But for right now, a 5 out of 10 is where this song stands with me.